All right, so today we're diving into TCI Express Limited. We want to get a handle on their position in India's logistics sector. And you've given us their annual report, earnings call, transcript, and expertise, even their business responsibility and sustainability report, which is interesting.
Yeah, it's a really smart approach. I mean, you're looking at their financials, their strategic direction, and how they're approaching sustainability. I mean, all these things are kind of intertwined now.
Yeah, exactly. So you're interested in seeing how they're handling the challenges and opportunities in this, really dynamic market.
Yeah.
So TCI Express is a major player in India's B2B express delivery market. In fact, they're the fastest growing in the sector. And they don't just do one thing, they offer a whole bunch of services.
Yeah, they want to be the go-to solution for any business that needs to move goods quickly and reliably. So we're talking surface air, both domestic and international, rail, and even specialized solutions like cold chain for pharmaceuticals and e-commerce fulfillment.
And their service network is huge. It's like 970 plus branches, serving over 60,000 locations, plus a fleet of over 5,500 GPS-enabled containerized vehicles.
That's a key takeaway here. I mean, they're clearly focused on controlling that entire delivery chain, which is so crucial for maintaining quality and reliability. Especially in the B2B space, businesses need to know those shipments will arrive on time and, in good condition.
And speaking of staying ahead of the curve, their annual report talks about their investment in technology. So they're using this AI-enabled automated cross-belt sorter at their Pune sorting center, and it's reduced cargo turnaround time by like 40%.
Wow, yeah, that's not just a cool upgrade. That's a potential game changer for their efficiency and their bottom line. I mean, faster turnaround means they can handle more volume and potentially offer even faster delivery times. It gives them a competitive edge.
And then there's this money-back guarantee that they rolled out for all shipments. Air, rail, surface, it doesn't matter. It's a bold move in a sector known for its unpredictability.
It is. It suggests they have a high level of confidence in their operational capabilities, which is interesting given some of the challenges they highlight in their earnings call.
Right. Financially, they're doing pretty well. Their revenue increased slightly in fiscal year 2024, reaching 12,261 crores, but they maintained a strong EBITDA margin of 15.4%. And EBITDA, by the way, is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. Basically, it's a measure of a company's operating profitability.
Yeah, and 15.4% is really good. It shows they're managing costs well and maintaining profitability, which is really important as we dig into some of the headwinds they're facing.
Like the concerns they brought up in their Q2F25 earnings call about rising costs like labor and air freight. And they're also, feeling the pressure of finding that right balance between their larger institutional clients and those all-important small and medium-sized enterprises, or SMEs.
It's a balancing act. You want the volume and growth potential of the SMEs, but those larger institutional clients often offer more stability and potentially higher margins. So understanding that broader economic landscape is crucial.
Absolutely. And speaking of the bigger picture, TCI Express is operating within India's economic growth story, the country's projected GDP growth, and the government's focus on infrastructure. Through initiatives like the National Infrastructure Pipeline and the Gati Shakti National Master Plan, it's creating a lot of potential in the logistics sector.
Yeah, and those government initiatives are so important. Take the Gati Shakti Master Plan, for example. It aims to create a more integrated and efficient transportation network, connecting different modes of transport like roads, railways, and waterways. This could significantly improve logistics efficiency, reduce transportation costs, and ultimately boost economic growth. And TCI Express, being a major player in the sector, stands to benefit significantly from these improvements.
So they've got this tailwind of economic growth and infrastructure development. But then there are those headwinds, like rising costs, a need to carefully manage their customer mix, and a whole host of challenges specific to operating in India's logistics landscape.
It's a classic case of opportunity mixed with a healthy dose of complexity, which frankly makes for a much more interesting deep dive.
Now let's talk about sustainability.
Yeah.
Because TCI Express seems to be going beyond just buzzwords here. They've installed solar panels at multiple sorting centers to reduce their dependence on non-renewable energy sources. And their Pune sorting center earned LEED Gold certification, leadership in energy and environmental design, which means they're meeting some very high standards for environmentally friendly building practices.
Yeah, it's a great example of how sustainability is becoming integrated into core business operations. It's not just an afterthought anymore. And it can resonate with both environmentally conscious customers and investors who are increasingly looking for companies that align with their values.
And it's not just about big flashy initiatives. They're also making smaller but still impactful changes, like investing in CNG vehicles, compressed natural gas, which is a cleaner alternative to traditional fuels, and even training their employees on energy conservation.
What I find intriguing is their mention of working with supply chain partners to promote sustainable practices. They're not just focusing on their own operations, they're trying to influence the entire ecosystem they operate in.
Okay, so they're painting a pretty positive picture, but their earnings call also reveals some vulnerabilities. Those rising costs are putting pressure on their margins, and they're having to navigate a complex regulatory environment.
Plus, there are just the inherent risks of operating in the logistics sector, like cybersecurity threats, and the challenge of maintaining consistent service levels across such a vast and diverse country like India. I mean, where infrastructure can vary greatly from one region to the next.
No business is without its challenges. But I appreciate their transparency in acknowledging these potential risks. It sets the stage for a really interesting discussion about their mitigation strategies. What are they doing to address these concerns? And how effective are their efforts likely to be? That's what we'll explore next.
So let's unpack those challenges a little bit and maybe start with like the specific segments within the Indian logistics market. The earnings call highlights, rail is becoming like a key player, especially for efficiently moving large volumes of goods.
Yeah, they seem really bullish on rail, calling it, a key component for the sector's growth. And it makes sense. It's a more cost-effective and environmentally friendly option compared to road transport,
Yeah,
especially for, those longer hauls.
exactly. But they also point out that air cargo segment, although smaller in volume, is crucial for time-sensitive and perishable goods. Think pharmaceuticals and, certain e-commerce products.
But the earnings call brings up some concerns about rising costs in both of those segments. They
Yeah.
specifically mentioned like airline consolidation and airport privatization, driving up air freight costs. And rising fuel costs are impacting the entire industry.
Right. It all puts pressure on their pricing strategies. And this ties back to that balancing act with their customer mix. Larger institutional clients often have more negotiating power, which could squeeze those margins even further.
It's a tightrope walk for sure, keeping those bigger clients happy and making sure they're still appealing to those growth-driving SMEs while maintaining profitability.
Yeah. It's a classic strategic dilemma. And it's all happening against the backdrop of a shifting economic landscape, both within India and globally. I mean, the IMF is projecting decent growth for India, but it is a slowdown from the previous year.
Right, and globally. The World Trade Organization is expecting a recovery in merchandise trade volume, so that's positive for a logistics company like TCI Express. But those global economic shifts can create volatility.
For sure. It underscores the need for agility and adaptability, and that's where their focus on technology comes into play. I mean, we've talked about the AI sorting system, but their annual report highlights a whole suite of tech investments, like GPS-enabled vehicles for real-time tracking and data-driven decision-making.
They're even talking about how AI and predictive analytics can help them forecast demand, optimize routes, and improve inventory management. It's all about squeezing out inefficiencies and enhancing customer service.
And what's really fascinating is their forward-looking view on technologies like autonomous vehicles and robotics. I mean, they envision robotics streamlining their sorting operations and autonomous vehicles potentially handling transportation in the future.
Yeah, they're not afraid to embrace those emerging technologies, which could give them a big advantage as the logistics landscape evolves. And this forward-thinking approach also extends to their sustainability initiatives. We talked about solar panels and CNG vehicles, but their commitment goes much deeper.
Oh, yeah. Their Business Responsibility and Sustainability Report, or BRSR, is packed with details about those efforts. They're implementing e-invoicing to reduce paper waste, switching to energy-efficient LED lighting in their facilities, and even using fly ash flecks, which are made from industrial waste products, in the construction of new sorting centers.
It's impressive how they're incorporating sustainability into so many aspects of their operations, and it's not just about the environment. Their BRSR also highlights their commitment to employee well-being, social responsibility, and ethical corporate governance.
It's like they're going above and beyond legal requirements. For instance, they're voluntarily conducting impact assessments for their corporate social responsibility projects, making sure they're truly making a difference.
And they're promoting diversity and inclusion, providing comprehensive health and safety training, and even offering transition assistance programs for employees who are retiring or facing career changes.
All of this paints a picture of a company trying to do right by its employees, which can have ripple effects on customer satisfaction and overall brand reputation. Their BRSR even dives into their corporate governance structure, emphasizing the role of independent directors on their board to ensure transparency and accountability.
They're also upfront about having a robust risk management policy, a clear code of conduct outlining their ethical principles, and even a whistleblower policy to encourage reporting of any misconduct. It's a lot to cover, but it all points to a company that's trying to be proactive and transparent.
Now, even with all these positive steps, their earnings call does reveal some, potential areas of concern. Like many companies in the sector, they're facing pressure from rising labor costs, which can impact those profit margins we talked about.
And don't forget those inherent risks of the logistics business. Potential cargo damage or loss during transit.
Right. Of course, they're taking steps to mitigate these risks, like insuring their fleet and implementing sophisticated tracking systems. But they also highlight that challenge of maintaining consistent service levels across a country as vast and diverse as India, with its, varying infrastructure and regional challenges.
And they're also operating in a rapidly changing regulatory environment, the implementation of the Goods and Services Tax, or GST. And the e-way bill system have brought about significant changes in how logistics companies operate.
Yeah, these changes require adaptability. And then there's that growing concern of cybersecurity threats as they become more reliant on digital systems. For tracking and managing their operations, they become more vulnerable to attacks. It's a never-ending battle. And they acknowledge that strengthening their cybersecurity posture is an ongoing priority. And we can't ignore that increasing pressure to adopt even more sustainable practices. I mean, consumers are becoming more environmentally conscious, and they're demanding companies reduce their carbon footprint.
For sure. And TCI Express is making strides with its solar panels, CNG vehicles, and other initiatives, but the expectations will only continue to grow. They'll need to keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
So it's a complex picture. They're juggling rising costs, increased competition, a constantly evolving technological and regulatory landscape, and the need to meet growing sustainability demands.
Right, but it's also a story about opportunity. That's what makes this so interesting. India's economy is growing. The government is investing heavily in infrastructure, and the demand for logistics services is only going to increase. TCI Express, with its comprehensive service offerings, strong track record, and commitment to innovation, is well positioned to capitalize on this growth, but they'll need to stay agile and adapt quickly to those challenges ahead to maintain their position as a leader in the Indian logistics sector.
What are some of the things that stand out to you about TCI Express so far?
I think their commitment to technology is really impressive. It's not just about having the latest gadgets. It's about using it strategically to solve real business problems,
Right.
like boosting efficiency and improving the customer experience, and even, tackling those cybersecurity threats.
And it's not like they're just buying, off-the-shelf solutions. They're developing their own cutting-edge tech, like that AI sorting system we talked about. It shows they're serious about staying ahead of the curve.
Yeah, they're not just keeping up with the times. They're trying to shape them.
Yeah, and that forward-thinking approach is definitely evident in their sustainability efforts, too. It feels genuine, not just a reaction to, regulations or investors. They really believe that sustainability is good for business, indeed good for the world.
Their focus on employee well-being also stood out to me. It's kind of refreshing to see a company prioritizing those things. Health and safety, diversity and inclusion, even those transition assistance programs.
Yeah, in a sector that's often seen as, purely transactional, it makes you wonder, do happier, more engaged employees actually lead to better service and ultimately a stronger bottom line?
It's an interesting question.
So we've talked about a lot. What does it all mean for TCI Express? They're clearly a company in motion, making bold bets on technology and sustainability and navigating this, complex and rapidly changing business environment.
The big question is, will these investments pay off? Will it give them an edge in this increasingly competitive market? That's something to think about as you follow their journey.
It's definitely a journey worth watching. I mean, they're at the forefront of innovation in a sector that's so crucial to India's economic growth. And they're showing that sustainability and profitability can go hand in hand. So keep an eye on TCI Express. They're a company that's not afraid to challenge the status quo and push the boundaries of what's possible in the world of logistics.
And that wraps up our deep dive into TCI Express Ltd. Hope you enjoyed this exploration of Indian logistics, technology, and sustainability. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep asking those big questions.